everybody looked at New England. New England spent $232 million yesterday, and this morning they went and got Hunter Henry. He struggles to stay healthy, but he's a very good tight end. Now a Patriot, was with the Chargers. Very good player, top 10 tight end. And the media reaction is, whoa, this is not New England. So what has New England been with their money over the last 20 years? Disciplined. They don't go get a lot of stars. They get productive players already in the league that are schematic fits. And so this morning, I can't believe they spent that money. Actually, all these moves are very New England. No stars, no divas. Everybody's a scheme fit. They're all young and productive. And there's very little guaranteed money. As Joy and I have talked about the last couple of days, less than half of this money will end up going to the players. That's just the way it works. You start looking at the money they gave out. These are reasonable deals to productive B and B plus players who are all young and have ability to stay healthy. That's what New England does. Now, they did admit New England's never had a problem admitting when they miss on stuff. They do. They change stuff up all the time. Bill Belichick admitted this morning and yesterday, I can't draft tight ends and wide receivers very well, so I'm going to go solve it. So they got Jonnu Smith yesterday, a terrific tight end, and Hunter Henry this morning. Now they have one of the strongest tight end groups in the NFL. They moved up in the draft last year to get 2 tight ends. Neither can play. So New England's admitting this is what they do. They don't have ridiculous contracts. None of these are ridiculous. They admit when they're wrong. They move off stuff all the time. They're admitting, listen, the tight ends we drafted they're not the guys. Let's just go pay for them. And they still have the best coach in football, a top 5 offensive line, and they'll have a top 5-6 defense. This morning they feel like a playoff team. Not a Super Bowl team, but a playoff team. And if you look at how Cam played last year in the last 9 games, if you look at what quarterbacks do in the second year of a new system, they're in a division with the goofy Jets and the, still kind of rebuilding Miami. The only reason this morning that we think less of New England is because Brady's been so damn successful. If I would have told you a year and a half ago, the greatest quarterback to ever play the game is going to leave a franchise. Ooh, how do they do? Well, they're a game under 500. How about the next year? Oh, they make the playoffs. You'd be like, oh, that's not terrible. I mean, you start looking around when the great quarterbacks leave their franchises, it's not a pretty picture. Has Miami ever found the replacement for Dan Marino? Is Denver, they're still trying to figure out who the next John Elway is. So the bottom line this morning, Brady's success makes it look like, the Patriots are worse than they are. Now, the schedule's not too tough. The question is, well, why is Belichick doing this? And Mike Reese, wrote a very good column this morning. Now, people will say, oh, he just wants to get back at Brady. Well, that's kind of petty. Well, he realizes his roster's not very good. Well, no, I think at tight end, he realizes his roster was terrible and he upgraded. In the other places, he just added good players to already good units. But here's the key, and this is why all these moves are very New England, is that Reese points out correctly that because of the pandemic, the cap's coming down. And most teams are just trying to get under the cap, and New England, always financially responsible, has a ton of money. So there's a bunch of really good players on the market. You don't have to sign to 4-year deals. Many of you can sign to 2 and 3 year deals. Give them some guaranteed money, but a lot of it is incentive-based. This feels exactly like New England. No stars, scheme fits, smart contracts, most of it not guaranteed. Young players. I mean, Nelson Agholor's 27 years old. They got a corner who's 26 years old. This feels very much like New England. It's not crazy. And I think this is funny. So I said this yesterday to Joy. The Boston media was just going nuts this week. It's Cam Day, terrible. It's the worst team in the world. Okay, this morning, if this is how I feel this morning strongly, the stratas of the NFL, I feel like there's 4 teams that are locks to make the playoffs. Like something seismic would have to go wrong. Green Bay, Kansas City, Buffalo, Tampa. You'd have to have like an injury to the star quarterback. Those are the playoff locks. We can put them up there for our audience. The 4 playoff locks. Then I think there's 2 teams that are close to locks. The Rams and Ravens. I want to see Matt Stafford in the system first year, but they feel like a playoff team. Ravens, tough division. Joe Burrow's getting better. And then there's 3 teams I'd be surprised if they miss the playoffs. The Colts, the Seahawks, and the Patriots. All right. Brady and Belichick are both in there. And I think what you're looking at now with New England is great coach, great O-line, great defense, now great tight ends, and they have upgraded their primary weakness, skill people, by acknowledging we're not great at it. That's New England. They've never thought they had all the answers. They can be arrogant and smug, but they're constantly moving off things. And what they're basically doing is they built a team in the last 24 hours to fit Cam. When Cam had the 15-1 season, do you remember his leading receiver? It was Greg Olsen, the tight end. So what did Belichick do? He went and got Cam Newton 2 great tight ends. And what else did that Carolina team do well? They ran the football. What's New England? Damian Harris, Sony Michel, good offensive line. Probably bring back Burkhead. They'll run the ball. So Belichick is putting his arms around Cam and saying, year 2, special teams defense, me, that's all good. Let's build a team around Cam. He's saying the market didn't offer us anything they liked. Garoppolo can't stay healthy. Mariota's probably too expensive. Jets won't give us Darnold. We'd like to do a deal for Deshaun Watson, but what do we got to give? So I'll go back to it. I was a proponent of signing Cam, and I look at this morning and I think I'd be surprised if they didn't make the playoffs. All right, let me segue to the Chicago Bears. I've never told this story before. This is a new Uncle Colin story. So I moved to Vegas about like 1986, 87. Single, young. And about a year into it, got a job at a TV station. So I was making, for my age, making pretty good money. And I was hanging around other like single guys, and it was fun guys. But, it was Vegas, and you're kind of sorting out who you trust and who you don't. And I remember there was one guy I really liked, and he said, hey, I'm going to have lunch. I want to introduce you to some of my buddies. And they want to talk about a business idea. And after about 90 seconds, I said, that's not a business idea. That's a pyramid scheme. And I said to him, that's a discussion I don't even want to be in. One, because I don't want to be part of a pyramid scheme and go to prison. And 2, if I hear you're discussing it, I'm going to think less of you, and you're the one guy I like. So I don't want to hear you talk about it, and I'll think less of you. And then if I get asked years later about it, I want to be culpable. Hey, I want deniability. I got no idea I don't even want to be. Sometimes you just don't want to be in discussions. I want deniability. I'll think less of you, and I don't want to go to prison. So I said, I'm out. I'm not going to lunch. I don't even want to be part of the discussion. There's my story. You got to be careful about the discussions you allow yourself to be in. The Chicago Bears got in the Russell Wilson discussion over the last week. They did not refute those rumors. Well, it came from Russell's side. They did not refute the rumors. The problem with that is this morning, the Bears have interest in Andy Dalton. Okay, being involved in the Russell Wilson discussions and then settling for Andy Dalton is promising your kids a 2-week vacation in Hawaii and settling for a weekend at a state park. This isn't good. It feels like a big dud to a fan base that's worn out. I like Andy Dalton as a backup. I've said before, I think he's the best backup in the league potentially. And I do think in Cincinnati and Dallas, if you give him a bunch of good skill people, you can win games with him. But Chicago's not that fit. Chicago needs a playmaker at quarterback. That's why Trubisky actually won some games. He's a little bit of a playmaker with his feet. They got one legit wide receiver, a decent young tight end. I like Tariq Cohen, a running back. O-line's okay, but this is not a fit for Andy Dalton. And increasingly, Ryan Pace, the general manager, I don't trust. I didn't like the Trubisky move. This is a ridiculous move. It's a bad fit. And you cannot get involved in Russell Wilson discussions and just let him go and probably feed him and not deny him and end up with Andy Dalton. Because if Andy Dalton with this offensive skill group is your quarterback in just the NFC North, start in second place and work your way down. Thank God Detroit's in that division or you'd finish potentially fourth. So Chicago, sometimes you just have to step away from discussions. Give yourself deniability. Don't set yourself up to disappoint people, but don't get involved in the Russell Wilson stuff and then come out with that.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.